Hello everybody, my name is Benji and welcome to Satisfactory. I guess welcome back to Satisfactory. It's been a while because I haven't streamed in like a month and a half at this point, but I figure since we're pretty much done with this world for now, we just need a new weapons factory. That might be like 2 streams if I feel like it when I feel like it. But for now, this world is finished. I feel like it's time for a world tour. So welcome everybody to my Satisfactory World Tour. We're going to start off here in the hub zone that I have. This is where I keep all of my wonderful, wonderful resources. So we've got bins along either side, all the wonderful spaghetti in the world underneath with all of the belts, bringing in all of our items, and a mega switchboard here at the end, which turns off all of the power in the world, or just the drones, or just the space elevator stuff, or just the main production, which is everything in the grass fields, or just the West Coast production. West Coast has all of its stuff, and the main little grasslands has all of its stuff as well. We have lights everywhere, wonderful Benji blue, and this is our wonderful... Perfect time, Mama Moth. Wonderful. That little building over there is something that we've had since the very, very, very beginning of the save file. That was like the 3rd or 4th building that I ever built. It just had some preliminary, like, modular crafting, some batteries, and my old switchboard in it. It needs to get demolished. It also has a little bit of auxiliary storage in the basement, but I need to get rid of this and move it at some point. I haven't yet. And we have all of our new factories that I have mostly redone since Update 6 came out with new buildables. And new buildables also just came out, as far as I'm aware, half platforms and half pipes and stuff like that. But most of the builds that you're going to see here are pre-Update 5, or in the grasslands specifically, very early Update 5. This building over here on the side, I guess we can just start here and go to that way and go around the entirety of the map and come back. This building here is our smart plating factory, 20 per minute smart plating for our wonderful space elevator. All of the belts are hidden underneath the floor. All of the logic distribution is hidden under the floor and goes up via the conveyor lifts and conveyor belts. As you can see, this factory is very old as it still uses Mark 1 conveyor belts and Mark 2 miners. So that's fun. I'm very proud of it, and I placed in all of the glass foundation, or glass walls, before I had Smart Mod installed again, after Update 4 came out. So yeah, that kind of sucked. And then over here we have our drone array and some temporary storage for space elevator parts, which, by the way, we're almost done with space elevator phase 4, and I can get my employee of the universe mode. But this just had all of our, technology for the space elevator parts. It can get demolished, I just haven't yet. Our drone ports are bringing in a whole bunch of materials from all over the world, including one specifically here for batteries, one for all of our AI limiter, or supercomputers rather, all of our electromagnetic control rods, all of our turbo motors, all of our, I forget what this one is, nuclear pasta, and this one was bringing in automated wiring, this one was making versatile framework, and this one brings in quartz, because very sneakily I put all of our quartz underneath of here, because we don't need much, but we do need some quartz here. So we've got that going in. We have our ginormous brick, as I lovingly call it, for all of the trains that come in from across the world. On the bottom floor, we have the Leguery, which is a play on the Armory, the counterpart being the Armory, which produces all of our weapons, or I guess I should say produced, thanks Update 6. And the Silver Road, which does all of our aluminum products. Aluminum casing, aluminum sheet, and radio control units come in on the Silver Road. And then up on the top platform, we have our heavy modular frame factory, air fuse modular frame and cooling system factory, distribution, and all of our oil products, which is computers, high-speed connectors, rubber, plastic, and circuit boards, which is fantastic. And it all fits in this nice little brick, as I, yet again, lovingly call it the brick. We have a tiny factory here with a brutalist design, which has a much better interior, actually, for all of our basic materials. So we have concrete, we have the hanging belts. Rude. We have concrete, we have iron rods and iron plates up on the next floor. Up here, iron plates and iron rods. All that good stuff. I'm gonna get out of here before I get shot. All the enemies respawned, and that's bad for business. This is our AI limiter factory. I originally was gonna make the factory designed to look and be painted like an AI limiter, and I gave up on painting it because I wanted to get to other projects. This is our old motor factory. It is currently decommissioned because of the fact that I'm making everything better and more efficient with Mark III miners. So this coal node got rerouted for the truck, which you could see there, that brings the quick wire and the AI limiters back to the storage hub. There's the iron supply. We'll get to that in a second. We've got our auxiliary power over here, and we'll get to the main power production soon, but that's essentially, it takes biomass components and turns them into liquid biofuel, which goes into the generators to jumpstart our main facilities if we ever run out of power for whatever reason. This right here is our steel factory, and I did not actually make it in such a way that I can get in easily, so I just do this every time. We've got our stators here, which we're not using for anything other than a battery occasionally, so I just, store them and trash the rest. Hello, Mr. Bean. This also makes our steel plates and steel beams. On the next floor, we have our encased industrial beams, and on the last floor, we have our motors for rotors and stators in these two rows, and motors. Absolutely. And then obviously, again, the truck comes and picks them up. All of our smelting is done in this little block. So everything smelting related for this factory is in here. We've got iron and the coated steel, what's it called? Solid steel ingot, alternate recipe right there. Never build steel without the alternate recipe for that. And then the wire and copper ingots are made on the next floor up. Moving back a little bit, we have our modular frame factory, which is built inside of a modular frame. I'm very proud of this one as well. I thought it was a super unique concept, and then I saw a bunch of other people on Reddit doing it, so it's not as, great as I thought it was, but it's still pretty good. I love the way that I distributed the belts evenly here to go up to the next floor for the different composite products. And I also love how compact everything is here. I'm very, very happy with this project and how it turned out. And then we have our rotors being made here. Just a random hypertube wall because I was originally going to put hypertubes in here. But yeah, there's not much else to really say about this. It makes rotors and reinforced iron plates. That's about it. We've got a train junction, which is a little weird. It's got the two that go to the factories on the East Coast side of things, and then it also has the merge into the one line, the monorail that I had before Update 5 added Train Collision. I used to have a monorail for the whole world, and then I had to split it into two. That was like a whole 2 streams plus worth of effort. Fun, but a lot of effort regardless. This is my personal train network. That's why this junction's a little bit odd. We'll see a proper junction eventually, I think. This is my outdated beacon factory. It made beacons because beacons were actually important once upon a time. I have a bunch of beacons, and these are going to be taken out of the game very shortly. So, That's an obsolete factory. It could honestly just get removed, although I think it looks cool, so I might keep it around for a bit. And then this is based off of the Frank Lloyd Wright house, a hanging house over top of a cliff. I never actually added in the hanging bit, but this makes all of our copper, so copper sheets, wire, and cable. It's fantastic. This is a very old factory, which is why it's a little bit janky in terms of the belt coming out. This is 20 automated wiring per minute. If you haven't picked up on it yet, there was a theme to this world, and it was a challenge to make one item per factory, roughly speaking, one item per factory, maybe 2 or 3 if it's composite enough. That's a new cave. Interesting. Oh, that's a big boy. I'll have to check that out later. But I would make 20 per minute of everything in its own factory. Hence this one being versatile framework. The drone ports are just placed specifically to bring stuff back for the temporary setups of all of our space elevator parts, so the drones could actually go away momentarily if I ever wanted to, but like I said, everything works and I'm not particularly interested in getting rid of stuff. That's a coal belt. We'll see where it goes shortly. Follow the monorail through the trees here toward the Gold Coast. There's the space elevator platform hanging over the side, an old walkway slash belt platform for our old AI limiter factory. It has since been decommissioned because I needed the copper elsewhere, so I just got rid of it. I decommissioned the factory, got rid of the belts and everything else, and redid the train line as well, as you can see here. Over here on the Gold Coast is one of my favorite things to look at from above because of the fact that we've got 2 train roundabouts, one of which goes to a monorail train track, as well as our monorail personal train line over here on the right, and just a slew of dotted factories, most of which are open air because they're processing oil, and I didn't feel like boxing them in and making a box, so I just have them doing that. We also have the pipes crisscrossing all over the place with belts, and it's honestly it was a scheduling nightmare, but it worked perfectly in the end, and I'm really happy about that. I'm even more happy about this little figure 8 looking thing here, because we've got 2 identical circles here, but one of the circles is a roundabout with the beams in between as well for some extra stabilizing support, especially on this one here because it's hanging. And then we have one of the roundabout exits being this factory, which goes in a circle to decrease the altitude, speaking like I'm still in class, and go to this train station, which has a roundabout that goes underneath of drone ports. And I think that is one of the coolest transitions I had ever come up with. We have our fused modular frame, which looks like it's broken right now, and our cooling system, which also looks like it's broken right now. Weird. It's because of the fact that these guys deal with the alumina loop problem, and there's no way to really set a priority input for water. There is kind of a way to set a priority input with valves to a specific capacity, but not entirely. So this breaks often and the alumina production shuts down. But it's fine because I have plenty in storage on the train and at home. This is when I started experimenting around with walkability, by the way, post-update 5, I want to say. I never ended up doing the walkability part for this factory, but I guarantee it's the same thing that's broken over there is alumina. Yep, that's exactly what's broken is alumina. Fantastic. That's normal. Great, now I'm going to be swimming the whole time. Let me just... that... I do have some mods for this series, by the way. I'm pretty sure I've put them in the description before, but I only have Smart Mod, Pack Utility, and Permaday? Efficiency Checker. Efficiency Checker. I got rid of Permaday because they added new skyboxes in, which I don't see any of the new stuff. There's a planet with rings. That's the new stuff. So that's pretty cool. This is our AI limiter, not our AI limiter, our high-speed connector, which uses AI limiters. So our high-speed connector factory is right here. A lot of K-Terium, a lot of quick wire. That's just kind of how that goes. And our rubber, plastic, packaged fuel, and circuit board factory over here, which is just a hodgepodge of different stuff. Everything also in this world has 0 byproducts. So if I could manage it, I could loop it back into itself and have 0 byproduct whatsoever. So no heavy oil residue being turned into petroleum coke being sunk, just pure, efficient loops. And I kind of got it a little bit. It still breaks every now and then, but that's to be expected with like pretty much anything I design in this game specifically. It's gonna break eventually if I try to add some sort of loop to it. Not good with loops. And this is our computer factory. It makes all of our computers using the Quickwire computer alternate recipe, and it works beautifully most of the time. Yet again, most of the time. Over here, you'll see a giant platform reaching up into the sky, and I'm actually going to do fly fast. This platform harvests a bunch of bauxite. It brings drones in from the drone port on the opposite side of the map, way the heck over here, and distributes drones to these 6 platforms here. 2 of these platforms go to the cooling systems and fused modular frames. One of these systems goes to the turbo motors. Actually, I think 2 of them go to the turbo motors, and then 2 of them go to the nuclear pasta factory. And as you can see, these are getting bauxite from this node, that node, and another node down in the field there. That's my favorite build. We'll get to it soon. This is the Fixmas Factory. I very much enjoy the Fixmas Factory. I really liked the idea that I had going with the presents stacked on top of one another, and each present doing its own specific item. So like we had one for the Fixmas stars. That's this giant one right here because we needed a lot of stuff. And all of these trees were only for the stars. And then all of the rest of these trees were for everything else. This factory was ridiculous, and I didn't end up getting too much of like everything, but I got a decent enough number that I was fine with it all. Everything painted nice and green for the holiday cheer, green and red, and then our tree was up to the final level. And I have a little observation, kind of brutalist platform for our power switches as well. I thought that was pretty cool. This is a factory that was built a long time ago, and I just never put walls on it because I never cared enough. I'm never over here. I never see it. I don't care. This is our heavy modular frame factory. If anybody knows anything about this game, heavy modular frames are the most complicated, non-liquid utilizing products that you can have in the game. They require so much steel and so much iron and so many steps. Like it's heavy modular frame requires encased industrial beams and modular frames. Modular frames require I think it's reinforced iron plates and screws or rods, and then reinforced iron plates require iron plates and screws. So screws, steel pipes, and this is an alternate recipe too, by the way. The default recipe uses screws and concrete, and it's a mess. I don't like it. It's no fun. At least when I don't go into it with like a scale in mind. This is before I really knew how scale worked in this game to its like fullest extent. This is my first time building mega factories, so forgive me on this regard. But that's it for that one, and that's mostly it for this entire quadrant, minus over here. This is my nuclear fuel storage area, or our nuclear waste storage area. So on the right we have our overflow protection for the uranium waste, and on the left we have our proper storage for our plutonium waste. And you can see even back here I'm getting a radiation level. And now that I'm using an iodine filter, I may as well go on ahead in and show you. We have had a slight mishap where not all of the uranium waste was being transferred properly. I fixed that issue since, but you can see how much plutonium waste we have. This bin is actively filling up. That's like almost a third of my entire storage for this stuff, and each bin has 24,000. So, yeah, you guys do the math. I'll leave this here for a second. 9 by 6, we have 9, 10, 11, 12, plus that many, plus 4-ish per belt. You guys do the math, and that's how many plutonium wastes I've got. It's egregious, I know, but it helps, and it was worth it. I'll show you my power graph here in a second. This is my electromagnetic control rod factory. I'm actually pretty proud of this design with the roof. It could be better, but it's good enough for the purpose of this factory, which was not much. ECRs are actually extremely easy at the end of the day. I do like the railway interaction with the factory, though. It's a little bit spaghetti, but it's not that bad. And then the roundabout, of course, is fantastic as well. We have a proper monorail junction here, which goes to the turbo motor factory, which I think does 5 turbo motors per second, I want to say. See, this is why I have efficiency checker. Just, boom, 6 per minute. I said per second, didn't I? It's like I'm playing Dyson Sphere program. But we do have ourselves all of our Caterium. Most things are colored in this factory, that way I could actually keep track of it all. We've got our aluminum processing here, quartz processing, copper, iron, more copper. These are crystal oscillators, and more copper, more iron, motors, all that good stuff, all the good stuff. And then finally, radio control units and turbo motors. I think we are using the alternate turbo electric motor for the ECRs, because that's just efficient. Now, I haven't built anything in the new Spire Coast biome yet, because I haven't really played too much in Update 6 as of yet, but I will be probably building my new weapons factory here when I get to it. Also, Train Spiral was untouched by the biome change, and so was the monorail, which I'm very excited about. The pathing looks a little weird because they actually got rid of a couple obstacles, but I'm still happy with it. That's cool. And this is my favorite build of all time. This is Orange Heaven. I call it Orange Heaven because it's a fuel refinement plant, and it makes me 20,000 megawatts of power, or 20 gigawatts of power. It has 200 batteries, 200 fuel generators, 50 per floor, 4 floors, 200 fuel generators. And it has 2 systems making 1,200 fuel per minute each, with an input of, I want to say, 450 oil, because it's a 900 to 2400 oil to fuel ratio per minute. And I love the warehouse design. I made this back in Update 4, so it's a little bit jank over here with the polymer resin production. I was making gas filters, so fabric and rubber, and also coal. And the fabric recipe recently got changed, which broke the polymer resin, so I had to add an extra bypass for the polymer resin. Now, while the autosave is happening, I'm going to let you guys kind of look at this little spiral right here, and I'll be back in a sec. Alright, autosave complete. What are the beans running from? I didn't know the beans got attacked by things and ran from them. That's kind of neat. They just galloped into the forest. That was cool. Off that direction is where we're going to go next, but before we do, I kind of want to show this train spiral off. I modeled it as if it were a DNA spiral because I thought that would be pretty neat, and I have the 2 tracks bypassing on top of one another, which I also think is neat. I'm going to copy into my next factory, which I do already have an idea in mind for the 1.0 release factory, I'm going to revolve a lot of it around trains. So a lot of stuff building up to trains is going to be just temporary. But that's a whole other video to discuss. I just wanted to show off the DNA spiral because I thought it was really cool. And that was like the day that Update 5 came out. Now the train goes through here. It's a little wobbly. I'd like to fix that at some point. We have a sky belt, but that's fine. That's where we get the coal for the nuclear power plant, by the way. Just a heads up. This is the armory, hence the pun with the legury. It used to make all of our weapons, which was, at the time, just nobelisks and rifle ammo, but the rifle ammo recipe and the nobelisk recipe have both changed a little bit, so this factory is currently mostly broken. However, it is still hot pink. I like that. So does Heckley. Heckley's a longtime viewer. Gotta give him a shout. Gotta give my mods a shout, too. Supreme and Hoodie for sticking with me all this time. This is quite possibly the largest project that I have ever done, apart from maybe my nuclear power plant, but we'll get there in a second. This is my nuclear pasta facility. It creates 10 nuclear pasta per minute, which requires a lot of copper powder per minute, which requires a lot of copper per minute, and a lot of water. So Marshall, Jay Marshall, one of my other viewers, is a very wise man and has very many tips regarding Satisfactory. And I've got to thank him for what's going on here. All of the water is being load balanced properly by this joining of all 4 pipes to one pipe. And then that one pipe goes the entirety of the way up here and then all the way back down. That way, for the entirety of the length of the rest of this pipe, including for the factory making all of our copper powder, I don't need to have a single water pump. And I love not having water pumps. I like water pumps, but you'll see why I don't like water pumps. They look cool, but they're a pain in my butt to place, and I really didn't want to place them. And again, you'll see why. Now, I can't actually get into this factory, but the belt crossing and everything is basically all you need to see. Here's all of the inbound copper lanes. I believe they're all 480 belts. And these are the 2 600 belt outputs for the copper powder. And then also we have our Roman-style aqueduct and our Roman Colosseum for our wonderful nuclear pasta. This is just my train hub. It has both of my personal building trains. I store all of my building resources in these guys for the entirety of my journey, and I bring them home when I run out of stuff and grab more stuff and bring them back to the project. I have 2 because I have big projects and I use a lot of materials. Here's the checklist that we have. Checklist is complete. Here's our power switches that we have. We've got one. Let me just do this. We've got one for the accelerators, one for the advanced production, one for the main power, one for the copper powder, and one for the main refinery, as well as some lights, of course, because it wouldn't be a factory without lights. This huge building right here with the trains underneath, I'm actually very proud of the design for this one. This building takes care of all of the basic smelting. So we have copper being turned, or not copper, the only part that uses copper is the copper powder. This turns iron into iron plates, and also steel pipes, concrete, limestone into concrete. We're also making aluminum ingots, aluminum casings, iron ingots, I already said, steel pipes, I already said, circuit boards strictly from oil, crystal oscillators in the other factory, and there's one other thing, aluminum casings, as well as fuel and nitric acid. So we've got quartz, oil, water and nitrogen gas all coming in. I think we have roughly 2 of each train for each of the factories. So we've got like 7 or 8 trains running around back and forth here. We've got 2 oils, 1 nitrogen, I think, 2 quartz, and 2 water, I want to say. Yeah, that looks right to me. And then we have 2 drones for the pasta. And I can show off a proper junction right here. Proper train junction. Proper train maneuvering. That way I can show that I can prove, like, yes, I know how trains work. I do decent with them. And then obviously also we have sulfur, limestone. And the interior of this factory is a complete mess because of all the resources, just like the nuclear power plant, so I'm not going to show that off. This one makes all of our crystal oscillators. Enough said there. This pyramid makes all of our advanced products, aka it condenses everything that I just showed off into the actual annihilation constraint thingies, whatever the heck they're called. Pasta. Nuclear pasta. The pressure conversion cubes, that's what they're called. And then everything goes along the aqueduct over here to the actual particle accelerators. And that's why over the course of this video, I've gone from like 600 nuclear pasta all the way up to almost 900. Because this, like I said... Oh no, it's 4 per minute. Sorry, not 10. 4 per minute. My bad. False advertising. Now on to either the second largest or the largest project that I have ever done in Satisfactory. That is my nuclear power plant. This is 50 nuclear reactors, fully overclocked, which is the equivalent of 100 nuclear reactors in the current update 6 status of overclocking. When you fully overclock a fuel generator, power generation facility, it doubles the power output, not 2.5 times the power output. So just keep that in mind with my numbers there. We have all of our smelting being done over here, so caterium, limestone, silica, quartz crystals, iron ingots, steel, well, not steel actually, iron ingots, coal, we've got sulfur coming in, we've got copper ingots, we've got everything. Literally just everything. Everything is here. And it's all properly load balanced before it goes into the spaghetti nightmare that is this, and goes into our 4 main production buildings. The building here in the bottom left is all of our non-irradiated uranium items, so electromagnetic control rods, beacons, which I'm sad about because I'm going to have to fix that, because they're getting rid of them, crystal oscillators, electromagnetic control rods, and then all of our sulfur, silica, and caterium for the uranium, which goes into this building, which is all of our irradiated uranium processing. So encased uranium cells and the actual uranium fuel rods, which then go to this half of the reactors. Then the waste from this half of the reactors comes back, and those are new. RIP. This building here is all of our non-irradiated plutonium processing parts. So this has everything such as our steel beams, electromagnetic control rods, and heat sinks for the plutonium fuel rods, and then our nitric acid and sulfuric acid for our plutonium everything. I think it's the non-fissile uranium that those go to. And then the uranium waste and the non-fissile uranium makes the plutonium pellets. The plutonium pellets become encased plutonium pellets with a bunch of the concrete stuff. Yep, there we go. You can kind of see it there, all of that. And then the encased plutonium cells obviously become the plutonium fuel rods, which then go to this half of the factory. And yeah, it's a lot of waste per minute. I'm also using batteries from the battery factory for the drones. By the way, this is the battery factory, 240 batteries per minute. All of the water that's a byproduct from this system, including the aluminum and the batteries, gets sunk because I tried to loop it and it didn't work, so I just sunk it. And this is why I hate pumps. Because this is 150 pumps. There is 3 pumps for every single belt, and every single pipe, and there are 50 pipes. 50 pipes right here. So I hate pipes, and I hate pumps, because I spent so much time on this, and I didn't know Marshall's trick. So, thank you, Marshall. I will use that in my nuclear power plants from now on. Looks cool, though, doesn't it? I think it looks cool. I think it looks awesome. I'm really proud of this, but still, that sucked. That was awful. Let's see, we did that. So the last factories that we're going to cover here, I guess we can start down here. This is my old coal power plant from way back in the early game. It's turned off to save FPS right now. That way it's not making any calculations for this part of the map, minus the oil. But I was really proud of these pipes and the way that they filter into the factory here, and then the way that everything comes up through the glass in order to go into the fuel generators. That's something I'm probably going to do more of in the future, and I just gave up on that when I had to double up on power. So that's why half of it looks good and half of it doesn't look great. Hey, that's a new Caterium node. That's a new, no, that's not Caterium, that's iron, isn't it? Yeah, that's iron. Well, still, that's cool. There's a new node there. I like that. I like that a lot. Up here we have our Supercomputer Factory. This does have the loops and stuff. That way it's no byproduct, but it obviously is broken right now. It does that on occasion. I still don't know why. All the numbers are right. I've triple checked it. I check it every time I fix it, and it just breaks. So I'm probably gonna add in some fail-safes next time. Like some overflow pipes, overflow methods. That way it never backs up. But I'll still try to go for full efficiency next playthrough. It's just kind of is what it is. And then this is our aluminum factory that I told you about earlier. This makes our radio control units, our aluminum casings, and our aluminum sheets. Can I just get into the factory? There. Yeah. It just makes all of our aluminum stuff, our aluminum loops here, which have not actually broken by the things. Well, maybe they have. Because I don't know why this isn't working. Working because it's alumina. Why doesn't it have alumina? It doesn't have alumina solution. Why doesn't it have alumina solution? No bauxite. Oh, right. When the update happened, somebody told me that node broke. The node that I'm getting all the bauxite from broke. And I don't feel like going and fixing it because we don't really need to right now. That's going to be a future Benji problem. And then here as well, before we wrap up, is another roundabout. I like my roundabouts, but they were a lot easier with the monorail trains, so I think I'm going to ixnay on that and go to just normal train junctions for my next playthrough, which again will be very train-heavy, Factorio-esque. My favorite long bridge, and a temporary nuclear fuel rod, uranium fuel rod production facility. Just hand-fed production facility, specifically because of the fact that part of my nuclear reactor broke at one point, and I'm also preparing for the beacon update to happen, and I need the power, because I never showed off my power graph. Well, now's as good a time as any to show off the power graph. What world? I don't know who's being hostile, but if they're continuing to be hostile, I will not hesitate to shoot them. So, our power graph. Our nuclear power plant is making us 250,000 megawatts, 250 gigawatts. We're getting roughly 20k megawatts, or 20 gigawatts, from our orange heaven. And I don't actually know where the rest is coming from, because it should only be 270,000 megawatts, so I don't know where the extra bit to get us to 280 is coming from. since, like I said, I turned off our coal production, which I think is like 8 or 9.6 thousand. Yeah, 9.6 sounds right. So unless that's turned on and I didn't notice while I was over there, it shouldn't be producing this much. Our max consumption, as you can see, is 113,000 megawatts, which, like I said, Orange Heaven only produces 20,000, so we're only making a sixth, roughly, a little less, or a little more than a sixth of the actual consumption that we would need should the nuclear power plant shut down, which is why I have the extra rods just in case. Most of that max consumption comes from the nuclear pasta, because each of those nuclear pasta particle accelerators are 250% overclocked. So they need a lot of power. They're hungry boys. So a lot of that power consumption comes from them. The rest of the power consumption just comes from the rest of the factory. We've got a lot of big honking machines all over the place. But I'm going to save the actual completion of Phase 4 for stream, so right now that is going to be everything. So I'm going to go find a spot to hover for a second and say thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das vidania, wiedersehen, ciao, and goodbye. Please have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to stay hydrated. This video... Whoa, the textures are broken. It'll fix itself in a second. This video is in the bag, and I will see you guys. It's not. I'll take a screenshot afterwards. Later, guys.